Hey, what's up, my friends? We are starting off our DK Week 1 NFL stacks, and I'm using the teamriseorfall.com Study Hub. Yes, that's right. We have our own site up and running. This is MLB Study Hub. Lots of tabs down here. Beautiful, beautiful tabs. Over here, open up the NFL Study Hub, which we are working on. The initial projections and ratings and everything are posted. I've taken the projections and I uploaded them into Fantasy Cruncher. From here, I am going to be using this to show you some of the top stacks for Week 1 based on our projections. These will be generic stacks that are pumped out by our projections inside FC. And if you want to have access to Fantasy Cruncher, if you sign up with us, we have this beautiful deal that we have with FC, if we've partnered with them. $29.99 to get all of our content for every single site. These beautiful study hubs that we have for each sport, these things are glorious. And we have all sorts of trend tabs and everything. They're sortable. You can look at team by team stats, Miami righty versus lefties over the last 50 plate appearances. I mean, you have so many things at the fingertips, and you have this for NFL, MLB, NBA, NASCAR, PGA, and MMA study hubs, and then NHL, esports, and tennis have cheat sheets. So I've uploaded these into this, and again, if you subscribe with us, you get a monthly $20 credit to fantasycruncher.com. And today, if you enjoy our lineup building, our stacks video, please hit that subscribe button and enjoy the free content. And if you want extras, you want the study hub access to our Discord chat, you're going to have to subscribe. All right, we got that out of the way. Let's do some work here. So right now, what I do is I set up all of my settings, and I have a tutorial on how I did this, and I stream every single day at 12:30 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/teamriseorfall. I showed everybody all my settings, my position stacks, my limit rules. I set up my groups, and we're looking for our most optimal stacks for Week 1. These are most optimal projected stacks based on my settings, which includes game stacking, limiting running backs in the same game, and limiting players on the opposing team to having to be included with the opposing quarterback if there's going to be multiple. So you won't get John Brown and Stephon Diggs included in a stack unless the Sam Darnold is involved in the game. Okay, that's what that means. So I have some very solid generic rules set up to give me generic stacks based on our projections, which shows right now, if we're looking at it quickly, a stack like Lamar to Marquise Brown, money in the bank, Breeze and Kamara on this side. On the opposite side, Chris Godwin running it back. So if you're looking at this and you're making lineups today, what you would do is you'd put that in there. You go over to DraftKings, and you would start off your lineups like this. Well, we just saw that this stack, the second most optimal stack in our projections this week, in Week 1, comes out to be with Drew Brees stacked with Michael Thomas and Chris Godwin. And from there, I would suggest to build outward. You start with your stack. We know that's the most important part of an NFL DFS lineup. You need to be able to maximize your upside, maximize your scoring potential. And I do this right here. Breeze and Thomas are going nuclear together. 120 yards receiving, 10, 12, 15 receptions. Well, you could probably bet that the Saints are scoring some touchdowns. And if so, how is Tampa keeping pace? Well, they're probably throwing the ball quite often. And that means Lattimore on the outside against Mike Evans, potentially a tough matchup. You get Chris Godwin running out of the slot 53% of the time with one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history at targeting slot wide receivers. Made Wes Welker and Julian Edelman look next level for the better part of 15 years. And here we are now with Chris Godwin, who ran over 50% of the snaps out of slot last year, gets Tom Brady. My word, there is a chance for wide receiver 1 each and every week out of Chris Godwin. And then we already had that last year with subpar quarterback play, and now we get it with tremendous quarterback play. I don't care how old he is going to be very good in this offense. I truly think so. This is a phenomenal stack. It's also a chalky one. If you end up with a chalky stack like this, from here, I would go out of my way to not use guys like Antonio Gibson, who might be kind of chalky at 4K at running back. I'm going out of my way to try to find other ways to be unique. Now that I have a 4K Antonio Gibson as the chalk play, well, try to get off of that. Try to find a way for your lineups to be a bit different. Someone like Boston Scott at 4.8K might be a fine option, especially if we find out that Miles Sanders is hurt. There's a chance that Boston Scott potentially turns into a bit chalky there, but that would also alleviate some of that mega chalk from Antonio Gibson. If you think that Detroit's going to score some touchdowns, there's some chances here for Tariq Cohen to catch some passes out of the backfield. Think of a game like this, 9 receptions, 44 yards receiving. Yeah, he could rack up 15 points. If he happens to score a touchdown, you're looking at 20 points or so. You're hoping for a shootout type scenario and something like that, in which case, maybe a player like Tariq Cohen is best served in a Matt Stafford type game stack. Stafford to Galloway with Tariq Cohen on the other side, or Allen Robinson and Tariq Cohen. Things of that nature. That's how you have to start putting these stacks together, okay? Now, when you are scrolling up and looking for running backs, a good way to just get away from the mega chalk, especially if you're already on the chalk at one type of stack here, just don't target the price range that the chalk is in. So if Antonio Gibson's going to be chalk, find a way maybe to look at it this way. Maybe Nick Chubb is phased out of the ball game because Baltimore goes up by 24 points in the first half, and the second half comes out and they're throwing the ball a little bit more. Okay, in which case Kareem Hunt's going to be on the field for 80% of the snaps in the second half. Plug him in at 5.1K. Have that game theory included with all your decisions you make this week. Game theory is going to be so key. Now, another one you could personally do, if you go back to our projections, and I'm glad it's this one because this is one I wanted to talk about, Carson Wentz. If you want to use Antonio Gibson, this is our third best stack on the entire slate so far based on our projections, and it's actually a 4-person game stack. So let's set this up. We have Wentz, Goddard, we have Terry McLaurin, and Antonio Gibson. So I'm going to go back to DraftKings here. I'm going to slide over to Philadelphia, and I think this personally is probably one of my favorite stacks of week 1. So I will be finding a way to plug this in. This might even be my single entry stack of the week. It's going to start with Wentz. I'm going to grab Antonio Gibson. I'm going to have Terry McLaurin, hoping that I have some type of potential shootout, or at least I'm going to have all of the targets being siphoned into or funneled into these 2 targets of Antonio Gibson and Terry McLaurin, while I have someone like Goddard, who I think can be tremendous value at 4.1K, already had a high floor and ceiling combination because of his target equity, which was in between the 20s, and he had a fair amount of red zone potential last year. And now they only have Deshaun Jackson as the starting number 1 wide receiver because Jalen Reagor and Alshon Jeffrey look like they'll be out in week 1. So if you like this stack and you're like, you know what, that is what Team Rise or Fall's third projected stack is, you can take it one step further. Let's say you're involved in the Millie Maker this week. My friends, if you're trying to win the Millie Maker, you need some correlation in your lineup. If you want correlation in your lineup, you are going to need a ridiculous type ball game. 38-35 with a bunch of touchdowns, catches, receptions, everything yards included in your target. So I've given myself a fairly high, fairly strong correlation, but a very high ceiling and a very low scoring floor. If this game doesn't end up being a shootout, this lineup completely sunk. But if you're playing tournaments because you want 2 times ROI on your investment, you're doing things wrong. You're trying to play these tournaments to win them. So, while you're trying to win them, go for broke. Throw some Hail Marys. Take some shots like this. If you're playing, a Millie Maker with hundreds of thousands of entries, my friends, you're not going to win it with a Carson Wentz to just Deshaun Jackson stack. You got to go ham. I would not doubt that the Millie Maker winner here this week is going to be something funky. It's going to be a large game stack. Somebody's going to be on maybe Ryan Fitzpatrick with multiple pass catching options in a Miami type game stack with New England. James White on the other side. Things like that could be the winning stacks. Now, we had discussed Kareem Hunt being included. So the very first stack, and I buried the lead here, this is the top stack of the week, and I love it. I truly do. Look at this. And I'll show you another way to add Kelvin Ridley into a lineup and have a secondary correlation because, oh man, secondary correlation, totally overlooked, extremely important. Let's do it. We're going to do it right now. We're going to slide over. We're going to grab Lamar Jackson. I'm going to go get myself Marquise Brown. 5.1K is a glorious price tag. Kareem Hunt, 5.1K. Again, game theory involves Kareem Hunt that, the flow of this game will have Lamar Jackson hooking up with Marquise Brown, 2 long 60, 70-yard touchdowns. They're up by 24 points at half. So what happens? Second half, Nick Chubb hits the bench. Kareem Hunt comes out there. He becomes the pass catcher out of the backfield for the remainder of the game, and you rack up a bunch of opportunities. Great, cool. That's awesome, right? Okay, whatever. Let's add some secondary correlation. This is how you climb the leaderboards when we are talking about Millie Maker lineups. And this is my last stack, and I saved it for last because secondary correlation is so important. And if you're not using it in your very, very large field tournaments, you're behind the 8 ball. And again, real quick before I do this, if you see this video and you like it, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You have daily videos, daily streams here on both Twitch and YouTube. You also get tons of free content, these glorious cheat sheets, and a $20 monthly credit to fantasycruncher.com. If you subscribe, just $29 a month, we have so much content, tiered rankings, player pools for single entry tournaments, player pools for cash games, all sorts of articles. The website is glorious. Dave over at Fantasy Cruncher hooked us up with this partnership to give our members $20 credit. So you could use that on FC Lite, which means you could pay $30 for our membership, get an extra $20 off of the FC Lite membership, and pay FC Lite for the NFL season for $10 a month. You can use Fantasy Cruncher for NFL for $10 a month using our partnership link there. So check it out. I hope you join, and we'll see you on the inside. All right, if you stuck with me, thank you so much. Let's do this now. Secondary correlation is key when you're trying to take down a tournament, especially a big one. Here's how you can do it. You have to use targets like this. You can plug in targets like Devontae Adams with Adam Thielen. There we go. This means we have secondary correlation. While we don't have exposure to Kirk Cousins or Aaron Rodgers, we have exposure to their number 1 wide receivers. If that game ends up being close, if those 2 wide receivers are the target hogs, the high volume target wide receivers this week in week 1, we get exposure to both of them without bothering with Rodgers and Cousins, who might not have the highest ceiling because of the way the offense runs. Another thing you can do is add secondary targets on popular games. So while Tyler Lockett and Julio Jones might be extremely popular this week, you could roll out a Kelvin Ridley and DK Metcalf stack. Now I have myself the best quarterback on the planet, fantasy-wise, with a home run type wide receiver, game flow scenario type running back, and a touchdown, very high touchdown equity pairing of Ridley and DK Metcalf in the same game. This is a very high correlative stack here, having opposite wide receivers in a game where I don't have exposure to Russell Wilson, where I don't have exposure to Matt Ryan. I have exposure to their targets, which is more important to me, and then I still am able to remain on my favorite quarterback of the week without having to play Russell Wilson or Matt Ryan. I hope you like this video. I hope you give us a look over at teamriseorfall.com. I hope you check out our website. It's completely free to look at. We have a bunch of free articles, strategy articles, sneak peeks, course previews for PGA, schedule here for the lineup study, lineup rewind. We have a Thursday night live stream at 7:50 for pre-lock on twitch.tv/teamriseorfall for the Thursday night football game. Lots of free content here. All sorts of goodies. Please check us out over at teamriseorfall.com. Hit that like button here on this YouTube video. Please hit the subscribe button and share it with all your friends. I hope to see you on the inside. Our coaching Discord is all fired up. I'm going to go create my MLB tiered rankings for today's slate and then dive into Discord and help people build lineups. I'll see you on the inside, my friends. Together, we rise or fall.